Laziness is not just lying on the couch, scrolling endlessly on your phone, or procrastinating important tasks. Laziness is a mindset, and that mindset is often disguised as comfort, excuses, or even false rationalizations that keep us from moving forward. The very first step to killing laziness is becoming aware that it exists within us and recognizing how it sneaks into our daily lives. Most people don't even realize they are lazy because they label it differently. They call it rest. They call it, "I'll do it later." They call it, "I'm just not ready yet." But awareness strips away the disguise. When you begin to notice how often you choose what is easy instead of what is necessary, you step into the driver's seat of your life. Until that moment, laziness is in control, making choices for you, shaping your habits, and silently writing your destiny without your permission. Awareness is a form of waking up. Think about it. When you oversleep and miss an important meeting, the very moment you wake up is the moment you realize you missed it. It doesn't matter whether the alarm rang or not. What matters is that you woke up late. That same principle applies to laziness. You may go years without being conscious of how laziness is eating away at your potential, but the instant you become aware of it, your perspective changes. You begin to see how laziness has been quietly stealing opportunities, delaying progress, and blinding you from your own capabilities. That awareness can feel uncomfortable, almost painful, because it exposes the truth. But pain is powerful. It pushes us to change when comfort cannot. When you are aware, you stop lying to yourself. You stop saying, "I don't have time." You stop convincing yourself that you are tired when in reality you are unmotivated. You stop pretending you will start tomorrow, because deep down, awareness reminds you that tomorrow is just another excuse dressed up in the future. Awareness is like a bright light in a dark room. It doesn't change the room instantly, but it makes you see everything that was hidden. Suddenly, you notice the small habits of laziness, hitting snooze on the alarm, choosing distraction over productivity, avoiding the harder task for the easier one. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. That is where power begins. Awareness doesn't just show you your laziness, it shows you the cost of it. Every moment you gave in to laziness had a price. It cost you an opportunity to grow. It cost you an opportunity to improve. It cost you an opportunity to show up as your best self. When you realize that laziness is not just a harmless delay, but a silent thief, it shakes you. You start to ask yourself, how much time have I lost? How many doors have I failed to open because I stayed seated in the comfort of laziness? This reflection isn't meant to fill you with regret, but to ignite urgency. Urgency is the natural child of awareness. Once you see what laziness has taken from you, you will not want to give it another day, another hour, another second. The truth is, laziness is not permanent. It's not who you are. It's a state of mind you've tolerated. And the good news is, the moment you become aware, you break the trance. Think of laziness as a fog that clouds your vision. When you're in the fog, you don't realize how little you're moving forward. But when awareness hits, it's like a gust of wind clearing that fog, showing you the road you were meant to walk. That moment of clarity is the beginning of transformation. People often wait for motivation to kill laziness, but motivation without awareness is like running blind. You may move for a while, but you'll eventually fall back into old patterns. Awareness, however, is the anchor. It keeps you conscious of when laziness tries to creep back in, and it gives you the power to interrupt it before it controls you again. Most people underestimate the power of self-observation. motivation. Try it for one day. Observe yourself closely. Every time you avoid a task, pause and ask, why am I delaying this? Is it really exhaustion, or is it laziness disguised as rest? You will be surprised at how often laziness hides behind justifications. You'll see how it convinces you to scroll for just 5 minutes that turn into an hour. You'll notice how it whispers that you need the perfect conditions before you begin, knowing full well those conditions will never come. Awareness pulls these lies out of the shadows and into the light, and once exposed, they lose their power over you. Awareness is also a choice you make every single day. It's not enough to recognize laziness once. You must train your mind to notice it daily, to become conscious of the tiny decisions that add up to either progress or stagnation. Every decision you make either feeds laziness or kills it. Awareness helps you catch yourself in those moments. You may be tempted to put off a workout, skip reading, delay making that call, or avoid working on your dreams. Awareness interrupts you mid-thought and reminds you of the cost. It whispers back, this is laziness talking. If you listen, you lose. If you act, you win. When you practice awareness long enough, it becomes second nature. You start living with your eyes open. You notice the patterns of laziness as they appear, and you crush them before they control you. This is where the real power lies, not in eliminating laziness completely overnight, but in constantly being awake to it, constantly catching it, constantly choosing purpose over delay. Awareness is the first weapon you sharpen in the battle against laziness, and without it, every other strategy will fall apart. It is the foundation of change, the beginning of discipline, and the birth of a new destiny. Laziness always grows strongest in comfort, and comfort is the biggest trap human beings fall into. Comfort feels safe, it feels warm, it feels like a reward. But what most people don't realize is that comfort is the silent killer of dreams. The moment you settle into comfort, laziness begins to feed on it. Think about how often you choose what feels good in the moment instead of what will move you forward in the long run. You stay in bed a little longer because it feels good. You put off an important task because it feels easier to relax. You avoid the difficult conversation because it feels less stressful to stay quiet. In every one of those choices, laziness is hiding, and it thrives on the illusion that comfort equals happiness. But deep down, you know that comfort is temporary, and once it fades, what you are left with is frustration, regret, and wasted time. The only way to kill laziness is to shift from comfort to purpose. Purpose is bigger than feelings, bigger than mood, and bigger than excuses. Comfort only satisfies you in the moment, but purpose sustains you for a lifetime. When you wake up each morning and your first thought is about how comfortable your bed feels, you are already losing to laziness. But when you wake up and your mind is locked on purpose, on the vision of who you want to become, on the life you want to create, you immediately rise above laziness. Purpose pulls you where comfort holds you back. Comfort whispers, stay where you are, don't move. Purpose shouts, get up, move forward, become more. Comfort is temporary pleasure, but purpose is permanent fulfillment. Laziness doesn't fear your talent, your intelligence, or your potential. It only fears your purpose, because purpose forces you into action. You can be talented and lazy, and your gifts will rot. You can be intelligent and lazy, and your knowledge will never serve you. But the moment you shift from living for comfort to living for purpose, you create a fire that laziness cannot put out. Purpose gives you a reason to move even when you don't feel like it. Comfort depends on how you feel. Purpose depends on what you value. If you value your growth, if you value your goals, if you value your destiny, purpose will always be stronger than laziness. The truth is, comfort and purpose can never live together. One will always kill the other. If you live for comfort, you will sacrifice your purpose. If you live for purpose, you will sacrifice your comfort. That's the trade-off. Look at anyone who has achieved greatness in any field: business, sports, art, leadership. They all had to give up comfort to embrace their purpose. They woke up earlier, they practiced longer, they worked harder, they faced rejection, they endured setbacks, they sacrificed temporary pleasures. And because they lived for purpose, they rose above laziness. Comfort says, take it easy. Purpose says, do what is required. Comfort asks, what feels good right now? Purpose asks, what will get me closer to my vision? The one you choose every day decides the destiny you create. Most people underestimate how deeply comfort influences their lives. It's not just about lying in bed too long or skipping work. Comfort shows up in the choices to stay the same instead of growing. It shows up in refusing to take risks because it feels safer not to. It shows up in avoiding challenges because they feel uncomfortable. And every time you choose comfort over purpose, laziness gets stronger. Purpose requires courage, and courage is uncomfortable. It requires you to face the unknown, to step outside of the routine, to do things that don't feel easy or safe. But those uncomfortable actions are exactly what break the grip of laziness and push you closer to your potential. Ask yourself, what are you living for right now, comfort or purpose? Comfort may give you pleasure today, but it robs you of tomorrow. Purpose may feel uncomfortable today, but it gives you a future worth living. Laziness cannot survive in a life driven by purpose because purpose gives you clarity. When you know why you're doing something, you no longer waste time debating whether or not to do it. You don't ask yourself, do I feel like it? Because purpose doesn't wait for feelings. You simply act because it aligns with your vision. That kind of clarity destroys laziness before it even begins. The shift from comfort to purpose also changes the way you handle challenges. In a comfort-driven life, challenges feel like burdens, something to avoid at all costs. But in a purpose-driven life, challenges become opportunities to grow stronger, to prove your commitment, to expand what you're capable of. Laziness hates challenges because they require effort, but purpose thrives on challenges because they lead to growth. When you are living for comfort, the smallest obstacle can stop you. When you are living for purpose, no obstacle can hold you down for long. To make this shift, you must constantly remind yourself of your vision. Purpose needs to be present in your mind every single day. Write it down, visualize it, speak it out loud. Carry it with you like a weapon against laziness. When laziness tells you to stay comfortable, your purpose must answer back louder. Comfort is reactive. It responds to the immediate situation. Purpose is proactive. It pulls you toward the bigger picture. And when you are being pulled by purpose, you don't have to constantly push yourself out of laziness. The pull itself keeps you moving. Every person has two lives, the life of comfort and the life of purpose. The life of comfort is easy, predictable, and safe, but it is empty. The life of purpose is demanding, challenging, and often uncomfortable, but it is fulfilling. Laziness belongs only to the life of comfort. The moment you shift to the life of purpose, laziness loses its power. It no longer has a place to grow because purpose fills every space with meaning, direction, and determination. The choice is always yours. You can settle in comfort and let laziness control you, or you can rise into purpose and take control of your destiny. Laziness is never destroyed in one big action. It is not something you defeat once and then forget about. Laziness is weakened and eventually killed by small, consistent disciplines that you practice every single day. Many people fail because they are waiting for one massive breakthrough, one extraordinary burst of motivation, one life-changing moment that will erase all their bad habits. But the truth is, transformation is built on small disciplines, not sudden explosions. It is the little things you do repeatedly that determine the direction of your life. One decision to wake up early may feel insignificant, but when you repeat that decision daily, it reshapes your identity. One choice to read a few pages may feel small, but after months, it fills your mind with knowledge. One workout may feel like nothing, but when you stay consistent, your body transforms. Laziness is clever. It convinces you that small actions don't matter, that you can skip today and start tomorrow. But the opposite is true. Small actions matter the most because they are the building blocks of momentum. Momentum is the enemy of laziness. When you have momentum, laziness cannot stop you because you are already in motion. Think about pushing a heavy rock. At first, it takes all your strength just to move it an inch. That's what it feels like to start a new habit or discipline. But once the rock starts rolling, it becomes easier and easier to keep it moving. That's momentum. Laziness tries to keep you at the starting point because it knows that once you build momentum, it loses control over you. Small disciplines are the way to break that starting resistance. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to take one step and then another and then another. Over time, those steps become a force that laziness cannot resist. The danger is that laziness always whispers, "One day won't matter." It tells you that skipping your routine today is harmless, that avoiding the hard work just once is no big deal. But every time you skip, you weaken your discipline and strengthen your laziness. On the other hand, every time you follow through, no matter how small the action, you are training your mind to overcome resistance. The greatest achievers in the world are not the people who never feel lazy. They are the ones who have trained themselves to act in spite of laziness. And they did it through consistent small disciplines. Consistency is far more powerful than intensity. You don't need to work for 10 hours one day and then do nothing for a week. That is not discipline. That is a burst of effort. Discipline is doing something every day, no matter how small, no matter how you feel. A single drop of water seems powerless, but when drops fall consistently, they can wear down stone. In the same way, your small daily actions may feel powerless in the beginning, but over time, they will carve out a new version of you. Laziness cannot survive in the presence of repeated, disciplined action. What most people don't realize is that discipline builds identity. Every time you choose to act instead of giving in to laziness, you send a message to yourself about who you are. When you choose to work on your goals instead of wasting time, you are telling yourself, "I am a disciplined person. I am someone who follows through." Over time, these messages sink into your subconscious, and you stop seeing discipline as something you do. You begin to see it as who you are. That shift is powerful, because when discipline becomes part of your identity, laziness has no room left. You no longer struggle to decide whether you will act or not. It simply becomes natural for you to follow through. Another truth about small disciplines is that they compound. Compounding means that small actions don't just add up, they multiply in effect. Reading 10 pages a day might not feel like much, but in a year you've read several books that may change the way you think. Saving a little money daily might feel small, but in a few years you've built wealth. Exercising for 20 minutes might not seem like enough, but over time your health transforms. Laziness always wants you to think in the short term, to measure everything by how you feel right now. Discipline forces you to think long term, to measure everything by what it creates in the future. When you adopt small disciplines, you stop living only for today's comfort and start building tomorrow's success. To defeat laziness with discipline, you must lower the barrier to action. Start so small that laziness cannot argue. If you want to start exercising, begin with 5 minutes. If you want to start reading, commit to 2 pages. If you want to start writing, promise yourself 1 paragraph. Laziness feeds on overwhelm, but small disciplines starve it. Once you begin, momentum takes over, and soon 5 minutes turns into 30, 2 pages turn into 20, 1 paragraph turns into several pages. The key is not how much you do, but how often you do it. Discipline grows stronger with repetition, and repetition is what laziness fears the most. Laziness is not destroyed by waiting for motivation. Motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes. Discipline is dependable. It shows up every day, no matter how you feel. That is why the most successful people rely on habits, not feelings. They don't wait until they feel like doing something. They do it because it is part of their discipline. And once action begins, motivation often follows. You don't need to feel inspired to start. You need to start to feel inspired. Discipline creates motion, and motion kills laziness. Think about the power of small wins. Every time you complete a small discipline, you get a surge of confidence. That confidence builds momentum, and momentum builds belief. Laziness wants you to believe that you are weak, undisciplined, and incapable of change. Small disciplines prove the opposite. They prove that you can change, that you can follow through, that you can build strength. Each small win is evidence against laziness, and the more evidence you collect, the weaker laziness becomes. The battle against laziness is won not in grand gestures, but in daily decisions. It is won when you choose to act even when it feels easier not to. It is won when you repeat those actions until they become habits, until they shape your character, until they transform your life. Small disciplines may not feel like much in the moment, but they are the seeds of greatness, and when planted daily, they grow into a life where laziness no longer has a place to hide. Negative feelings are not the enemy most people think they are. They are raw energy, and like any energy, they can either destroy you or move you forward. Laziness often partners with negative emotions because when you feel fear, anger, doubt, or sadness, the easiest reaction is to do nothing. You sit still, you avoid action, you numb yourself with distractions, and that state of inaction feeds laziness. But the truth is, negative feelings don't have to paralyze you. They can be transformed into fuel that drives you. Every emotion carries intensity, and if you learn how to redirect that intensity, you can turn the very feelings that hold you back into the power that pushes you ahead. The key is not to fight negative emotions or pretend they don't exist, but to become conscious of them and then decide how you will use them. Fear is one of the strongest emotions that fuels laziness. People avoid taking action because they fear failure, rejection, or discomfort. Fear convinces you that doing nothing is safer, so you stay still, but fear can also be transformed into fuel. Fear shows you what matters. If you are afraid of failing, it means success is important to you. If you are afraid of rejection, it means connection matters to you. Instead of letting fear freeze you, you can use it as proof that you are on the right path. The greater the fear, the greater the potential for growth. Many people misunderstand fear. They think it is a stop sign, when in reality, it is a signal that you are standing at the edge of expansion. When you feel fear, you can choose to let laziness take over and keep you safe. Or you can channel that fear into courage and take the step forward anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. Anger is another powerful emotion that often leads to laziness if left uncontrolled. When you feel angry, you may shut down, give up, or waste energy blaming others, but anger carries intensity, and that intensity can be redirected into action. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history came from people who were angry at their circumstances and decided to change them. Anger at mediocrity can push you to demand more of yourself. Anger at injustice can push you to fight for what is right. Anger at wasted time can push you to stop delaying and start moving. Laziness thrives when anger turns inward and becomes self-pity. But when anger is aimed at change, it becomes a weapon against inaction. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" redirect anger into the question, "What will I do about it?" That shift transforms anger from poison into fuel. Doubt is one of the most dangerous emotions because it quietly convinces you to stay comfortable. When you doubt yourself, you hesitate, and hesitation is the doorway through which laziness walks in. Doubt whispers that you aren't ready, that you aren't good enough, that it's better to wait. And if you listen, you sink into inaction. But doubt can also be used as fuel if you reframe it. Doubt simply shows that you are about to step into something bigger than your current identity. It is a sign that growth is happening. If you've never felt doubt, it means you've never pushed yourself beyond your limits. Instead of letting doubt hold you back, you can use it as a challenge. You can say, "If I doubt myself, then this is exactly where I need to act, because this is where growth lies." By acting in the presence of doubt, you prove yourself wrong. Each action becomes evidence that you are capable, and the more evidence you gather, the weaker doubt becomes. Sadness or discouragement can also lead to laziness. When you feel low, the temptation is to withdraw, to stop trying, to numb yourself with comfort. Laziness loves sadness because sadness convinces you that nothing matters, that no action will change anything. But sadness is not the end, it is feedback. It shows you where your values are not being met, where your life is not aligned with your desires. That awareness can be powerful if you use it correctly. Instead of letting sadness trap you in stillness, you can let it guide you toward action that restores alignment. Sadness tells you that something is missing. Action is the way to find it. By turning sadness into reflection, and then reflection into movement, you transform it into a compass that leads you back to purpose. The most important thing to realize is that all negative emotions are signals, not sentences. They are not punishments, they are not permanent states, they are signals pointing towards something that needs your attention. Laziness happens when you misinterpret the signal as a command to stop. The transformation happens when you reinterpret the signal as a reason to move. Every emotion has two possible paths, paralysis or progress. The choice is always yours. Energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be redirected. Negative emotions are energy, and when left unmanaged, they stagnate into laziness. But when harnessed, they create unstoppable drive. The same fear that could stop you can make you sharper. The same anger that could consume you can fuel determination. The same doubt that could hold you back can push you to prove yourself. The same sadness that could drain you can lead you to deeper clarity. It all depends on how you choose to respond. If you run from negative emotions, laziness wins. If you face them, accept them, and redirect them, laziness has no chance. When you begin to see negative emotions as tools rather than threats, you take away laziness's greatest weapon. Laziness thrives in people who believe that negative feelings mean they should wait until they feel better. But you don't have to wait. You can act in fear, you can act in anger, you can act in doubt, you can act in sadness. The act itself transforms the emotion. Fear turns into courage, anger turns into drive, doubt turns into belief, sadness turns into purpose. Action is the bridge that converts negative energy into positive momentum. Without action, emotions rot into laziness. With action, emotions transform into fuel. The real battle is not against laziness itself, but against how you handle your emotions. Every day you will feel something negative. Fear of failure, anger at obstacles, doubt in your abilities, sadness from setbacks. Those feelings are inevitable. Laziness uses them as excuses to stop. Discipline uses them as reasons to move. The more you practice turning negative emotions into fuel, the more unstoppable you become, because then nothing can paralyze you. Not fear, not anger, not doubt, not sadness. They all become fuel for action, fuel for growth, fuel for change. Every single day you make decisions, and those decisions are shaping your destiny. Most people think destiny is something mysterious, something written by fate, something that just happens without their control. But the truth is, destiny is designed through action. Laziness is the silent architect of an unfulfilled life, while discipline and deliberate action are the architects of greatness. Every time you choose to act instead of delay, you are rewriting the story of who you are becoming. Every time you defeat the urge to give in to laziness, you are making an investment in the future version of yourself. Laziness tells you that one skipped task doesn't matter, one day wasted isn't important, one missed opportunity is harmless. But destiny is not shaped by single massive events. It is shaped by repeated small choices that either pull you toward your vision or push you away from it. Think of destiny like a path in front of you. Every choice you make is a step. When you give in to laziness, you take a step backward or sideways, drifting off the path that leads to your vision. When you choose action, even the smallest action, you take a step forward. The problem is, most people don't notice how quickly small steps add up. After weeks, months, or years, those tiny steps become miles in either direction. The person who continually chooses laziness wakes up one day to find themselves far from the life they dreamed of, while the person who consistently takes action wakes up to find themselves standing inside the vision they once imagined. Destiny is not luck. It is discipline repeated over time. The beauty of this truth is that you are never stuck. Even if you've wasted years giving in to laziness, the moment you start acting with purpose, you begin rewriting your destiny. Action is powerful because it has the ability to redirect your entire future. One decision to wake up early and pursue your goals can create momentum. One choice to work on yourself instead of wasting time can open opportunities. One act of discipline can spark a chain reaction of habits that completely transform your life. Laziness convinces you that change is impossible, that you are trapped in who you've been, but the moment you act, you break that illusion. Action proves that destiny is flexible, that it bends to the decisions you make. Every act of discipline also expands your identity. When you take action, you don't just move closer to your goals. You become the kind of person who takes control of their life. That identity shift is where real destiny is designed. Laziness wants to shrink your identity, to keep you believing you are weak, unmotivated, or incapable. Action does the opposite. It builds confidence, it builds resilience, it builds belief in yourself. And over time, your actions carve out a new self-image, one that aligns with success. Once you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who acts, someone who chooses discipline over delay, you naturally begin to design a destiny of growth, purpose, and achievement. The trap of laziness is that it keeps you living only in the present moment. It tells you to think only about how you feel right now, tired, unmotivated, comfortable. But destiny requires vision. It requires you to see beyond the present into the future you are creating. When you take action despite how you feel, you are not living for comfort in the present. You are living for fulfillment in the future. That is the difference between those who build extraordinary lives and those who stay stuck in mediocrity. One group chooses the comfort of now, the other chooses the destiny of tomorrow. Action also creates alignment between who you are and who you want to be. Many people feel stuck because they say they want one thing, but their actions show the opposite. They say they want success, but spend hours in distraction. They say they want growth, but choose comfort every time. This lack of alignment creates frustration because deep down you know you are not living in harmony with your potential. The fastest way to eliminate that frustration is to bring your actions in line with your desires. When you say you want success and then take the actions that lead to it, you feel powerful. When you say you want growth and then take uncomfortable steps toward it, you feel authentic. That authenticity fuels confidence, and confidence fuels more action, creating a cycle that reshapes destiny. Every day is a test, and laziness is always waiting to pull you back. The difference between success and failure is not whether or not you feel lazy, because everyone feels it. It's what you do in that moment. If you give in, laziness writes another page in your story. If you act, discipline writes it instead. Destiny is not something you wait for. It is something you write daily with your actions. One small act of discipline today might seem insignificant, but when repeated, it becomes the foundation of your entire future. The gym session you attend today builds the health you enjoy in 10 years. The book you read today plants the knowledge you use to change your career tomorrow. The work you do on your goals today creates the opportunities that shape your legacy. The truth is, you are always building your destiny, whether you act or not. Laziness builds a destiny too, but it is a destiny of regret, of what could have been, of missed chances. Discipline builds a destiny of fulfillment, of achievement, of becoming everything you were meant to be. You don't need to control everything in life to shape your future. You only need to control your actions. Laziness tells you to wait for perfect conditions, but Destiny is designed in imperfect action taken consistently. The world does not reward intention, it rewards execution, and execution belongs only to those who act. Every time you choose action over laziness, you are rewriting your story. You are telling life, I am not controlled by comfort. I am not a prisoner of delay. I am the author of my destiny. And with every choice, every step, every disciplined act, you carve out a path that leads not to regret but to greatness.